My name is Josephine Beckett, but everyone calls me Jo. I'm 29 years old. For most of my adult life, people described me the same way: steady, reliable, put together. I was the kind of woman who paid her bills early, kept a spare phone charger in every handbag, and color-coded my budgeting spreadsheets because I genuinely found it comforting. Not exciting, not glamorous, but stable. And until 3 weeks ago, I thought my relationship was stable too. I'd been living with my boyfriend, Garrett Sloan, for almost 2 years in a warm, modern apartment on the east side of the city. Garrett worked in corporate strategy, always had a joke ready, always had a smile that felt like a promise. We split rent and utilities pretty evenly, though I handled most of the bills because, well, I was the responsible one. We talked about future plans in hazy, hopeful shapes. Maybe a real house someday. Maybe a dog. Maybe kids when we were ready. I wasn't rushing anything, but I believed in us. I trusted us. And then came March 15th, a Thursday that carved itself into me so sharply I can still feel the edge. I remember how ordinary the day started. I had a meeting with a client across town, but it got canceled last minute. I texted Garrett that morning, a normal conversation, nothing strange, a comfortingly boring exchange, like, "Don't forget your lunch in the fridge. Love you. See you tonight." I came home around 2 p.m. The sun was bright, the hallway quiet, my bag heavy with my laptop and an optimism I now look back on with embarrassment. I unlocked the door, expecting silence. Instead, I heard laughter. Not TV laughter, not Garrett's usual phone call chuckle. This was different. Soft, breathy, intimate, and female. My spine went rigid. I froze in the doorway, listening, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. For a moment, I tried to explain it away. Maybe he was on speakerphone. Maybe a neighbor was loud. Maybe. Then I heard him. Garrett's laugh, but not the laugh he used with me, not the one I knew. This one sounded younger somehow, almost shy. I stepped quietly into the hallway and paused outside our bedroom door. And that's when I heard her voice. Bright, playful, painfully familiar, even though I'd never heard her before. "We should probably get dressed before she gets home. Jo usually texts first, so we've got time." My name, my routine, my life, discussed like a schedule to plan around. Something inside me didn't shatter. It froze. The kind of cold that sinks into bone. Calm in the worst possible way. I didn't storm in, I didn't scream. I pulled out my phone and pressed the audio record button. Then I walked out, closed the front door quietly behind me, and sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, just breathing, just thinking, just making a plan. Because if I didn't focus, I would fall apart. When I finally went back upstairs, I slammed the door hard enough to be heard through the entire apartment. "Garrett, I'm home early," I called, forcing my voice into a cheerful tone that tasted like poison. His reply didn't come, but 5 minutes later he stepped out of the bedroom. His hair was tousled. He was wearing a different shirt than the one he'd left in that morning. His face tried to stretch into something casual but failed. "Oh, hey Jo, you're early." "Meeting got canceled," I said. "Thought I'd surprise you." He was good, I'll give him that, barely a flicker of panic. "Nice," he said. "I was just, taking a nap." "A nap at 2 p.m. when you were supposed to be at work." My eyes drifted behind him. The bedding was messy, and then, on the kitchen counter, I saw it. 2 coffee mugs. We only owned 4. One was in the dishwasher. I'd used one earlier that morning. These 2, freshly used. Something snapped into focus inside me. "Who's here, Garrett?" His face went pale. "What? Nobody. What are you talking about?" "There's someone in our bedroom," I said evenly. "I heard both of you when I first came in." Silence. And then, like a cliché from a bad drama, she walked out. A woman, tall, blonde, maybe early 30s, wearing a blouse that wasn't hers. She froze when she saw me, adjusting her shirt quickly. "Oh my God," she whispered. Garrett inhaled sharply. "Jo, this is Brittany." Her name slid into me like a blade. He'd said it in his sleep once months ago. I'd convinced myself I misheard. She lifted her hand awkwardly. Hi, this is awkward. I stared at her hand until she dropped it. Garrett stepped forward, frantic. I can explain. Can you? I asked quietly. Because it looks like you've been sleeping with her in our bed. He swallowed. Brittany looked away. My voice came out colder than I expected. How long? Garrett hesitated, and the hesitation told me everything. 7 months, Brittany said, barely above a whisper. He shot her a horrified look, but the truth was already out. 7 months. 7 months of lies, of planning, of choosing her over and over and over again. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just nodded once. Okay. Garrett's eyes widened. Joe, wait, please don't do anything drastic. I love you. I do. It just happened. 7 months doesn't just happen, I said. Brittany folded her arms, defensive now. He told me you two were basically done. Garrett whipped around. I never said. I cut in. Both of you, get out. He looked stunned. Joe, please, can we talk? Not now, not here. I grabbed my bag, my laptop, and my charger, how predictable, and walked to the door. Garrett rushed after me. Where are you going? Away, I said. You shouldn't be here when I decide what to do next. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. Don't, I warned. Do not touch me. He froze, and then I left. I drove straight to Jenna Talbot's apartment, my closest friend, the one who always had a spare blanket and an open door for me. She didn't ask questions until I started crying. Then she simply held me and let everything spill out. That night, Garrett texted me 36 times. I didn't answer a single one. Some betrayals burn hot. Mine burned cold. And that cold was only the beginning. The morning after everything fell apart, I woke up on Jenna's couch feeling like I'd been scraped empty from the inside. My eyes hurt. My throat burned. My phone was buzzing somewhere inside my tote bag, but I didn't have it in me to check. Jenna handed me a mug of tea, placed gently in front of me like she was handling something fragile. You don't have to decide anything today, she said. But she knew me. I was already deciding. At noon, I finally looked at my phone. 36 messages from Garrett, 6 missed calls, 2 voice memos I refused to open. I searched for one, just one, that sounded like remorse instead of desperation or manipulation. But they were all the same. We need to talk. Please just hear me out. I messed up, but it's not what you think. You leaving like that wasn't fair. Not what I think? He had cheated in our bed, in our home. I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. It felt surreal that someone I loved could shatter reality so completely while acting like it was me who was overreacting. By evening, I texted him. I need space. We will talk about logistics this weekend. That's it. It was the kindest message I could manage. 3 days later, Saturday, Garrett showed up at Jenna's building. I knew it was him because Jenna peeked through the peephole and whispered, "He looks like he hasn't slept in days." My stomach twisted. He knocked again, soft at first, then harder. "Joe, please, just give me 15 minutes. Just 15. Jenna looked at me. "Do you want me to get rid of him?" I shook my head. No, I should face him. I stepped outside. The hallway was cool, quiet. Garrett stood there with dark circles under his eyes and the same jacket he'd worn 2 days ago. He exhaled shakily when he saw me. "Joe, thank you. Can we go somewhere and actually talk?" Against every instinct screaming not to, I agreed. Not because he deserved it, but because I needed to hear the excuses directly before I closed the door on us forever. We ended up at a small coffee shop near the building. The wind was biting, so we sat outside, wrapped in our own awkward silence. He spoke first. "I made a mistake," he said, cracking his voice. "The biggest mistake of my life." I stared at the steam rising from my cup. 7 months, Garrett. That's not a mistake. "I know," he whispered. "I know that, but I love you. I do. I want to fix this. We can fix this." "No," I said softly. "We can't." He reached across the table. but I pulled my hand back. His face twitched like I'd hit him. He tried again. "Joe, you're my person." "My person?" I repeated. "While you were sleeping with someone else?" He didn't answer. "Why her?" I asked. He swallowed. "We met at a conference in October. We started talking. I don't know. I was overwhelmed." "You were busy at work, so you cheated?" He flinched. "It just happened." I leaned forward. 7 months doesn't just happen. You planned around my schedule. You used my kindness as cover. You rehearsed lies in your head every single time you kissed me goodnight. His eyes shined with tears, but I'd run out of sympathy. After a long silence, he asked, almost childlike, "Is there anything I can do? Anything at all?" "Yes," I said. "You can move out." He blinked. "Move out? Joe, this is our home." "No, the lease is in my name. You move out." He looked stunned. "How long?" "I'll give you 2 weeks." 2 weeks, Joe, please." "It's more generosity than you deserve." He deflated then, completely. Shoulders slumped, eyes unfocused. We didn't speak on the drive back. We didn't hug goodbye. He walked one way and I walked the other, knowing deep down that whatever we were, whatever we had built, it was over. The next 13 days were worse than the breakup itself. Garrett oscillated between pleading and guilt-tripping. Every time he came by to pack boxes, he tried to reopen conversations I no longer had the emotional bandwidth for. "Can we at least eat together one last time? Do you really want to erase 4 years? Everyone messes up. You're acting like you're perfect. And my personal favorite, you owe me at least a chance to explain." I owed him nothing. Sometimes he cried while folding clothes. Sometimes he got angry. Sometimes he paced around like a man who didn't recognize his own life anymore. I stayed distant, steady, numb. On the 13th day, the second to last, Garrett stood in the hallway holding a small plastic bin filled with cables, chargers, and notebooks. He cleared his throat. "Can I keep a set of keys?" he asked. I almost laughed. "Why would you need keys?" "In case I forgot something, or if we need to talk someday. I mean, we're still friends, right?" Friends. Friends didn't betray you for 7 months. Friends didn't lie to your face every day. Friends didn't plan around your schedule to sneak someone into your bed. Still, I held his gaze and said, "Of course, Garrett, I trust you." He actually smiled, a soft, relieved, almost triumphant smile. "Thank you, that means a lot." That smile told me everything. He wasn't done crossing boundaries, not even close. As soon as his 2 weeks were up, I called a smart lock company. I replaced every lock, front door, back door, even the balcony. I installed cameras with motion alerts. I synced everything to my phone. I was calm while signing the invoice. Too calm, maybe. But I wasn't being vengeful, I was being prepared. 2 nights later, 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Alert, invalid key attempted at front door. My stomach tightened. At 11:49, another attempt. 11:51, a third. Then my phone rang. Garrett. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the live camera feed. There he was, standing at my door. And beside him, dressed nicely, makeup perfect, was Brittany Shepard, the woman he'd cheated with. They were trying to get into my apartment at midnight. I waited until Garrett tried the key again, then finally answered his call. "Joe, something's wrong with my key. It's not working." "That's because I changed the locks," I said. Silence. And then, "What? Why would you?" "Because you don't live here anymore," I replied. "Why are you trying to get into my apartment at midnight, Garrett?" He stammered. Brittany looked up, startled, realizing too late that they were being watched. "Don't lie," I said. "I can see both of you standing there." Brittany yanked her hand out of his, mortified. Garrett's voice cracked. "Joe, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think, and you're never getting access to this apartment again." I hung up. On the screen, they stood there arguing for several minutes before finally leaving in opposite directions.
I watched the feed until my phone dimmed, then lay back on my pillow and exhaled a long, exhausted breath. He had just confirmed everything I needed to know. He wasn't sorry, he wasn't changing, and I wasn't going to save him. "Stop trying," my heart whispered, and for once, I listened. Garrett didn't try the door again after that night. He tried my phone instead. Long paragraphs about how cruel I was being, how I was punishing him, how after 4 years together I should have more compassion, how changing the locks was over the top and vindictive. It was almost funny in a bleak way. He'd spent 7 months dismantling our relationship in secret, but me securing my own front door was the thing he decided was unforgivable. I didn't answer, not once. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number while I was eating lunch at my desk. Normally, I let those go to voicemail, but something in me, maybe morbid curiosity, made me pick up. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then, "Is this Josephine Beckett?" "Yes, who's this?"
"My name is Victoria Reese, but you can call me Tori," a woman's voice said, calm but tight around the edges. "You don't know me, but I think our lives have been tangled together without us realizing it." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Tori," I repeated slowly, "as in Thomas's wife?" Another pause. "So he told you my name," she said. "That's something, I guess." I closed my eyes. "I'm so sorry. I know you're not the problem," she cut in gently. I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "For not covering for them," she said. "A lot of people look the other way, pretend they don't see anything. You didn't." I swallowed hard. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because he hurt me." "That's fair," she said, "but it helped me too. I found out about the affair because someone told me about what happened at your apartment, about them trying to get in after you changed the locks. Word travels fast in certain circles." I pictured it. Brittany venting to a friend, that friend venting to someone else, gossip flowing like water until it reached the one person who deserved the truth more than anyone. "I'm sorry," I said again, helplessly. "You didn't deserve that." "No," she agreed quietly. "I didn't, but I'd rather know than keep living in a lie." There was a rustle on her end, like she was shifting in her chair. "I'm filing for divorce," she added. "Apparently, Thomas has been cheating for years. Brittany was just the latest in a line of women who thought they were special." I thought of Garrett telling Brittany we were basically done, of Brittany insisting it had just happened, of me sitting in the middle of their overlapping lies like a person who'd wandered onto the wrong stage. "I have 2 kids," Tori said. "This is going to be messy, but at least now I can stop wondering why I always felt crazy." "I'm glad you know," I told her, "even if it hurts." "It does," she said, "but I'm going to be okay, and I hope you are too." We hung up a few minutes later with a strange sort of solidarity hanging between us. 2 women who hadn't chosen each other, but who had been chosen as collateral by the same brand of selfishness. Weeks passed. Life didn't snap back into place. It slowly rearranged itself. I went back to my routines, because routines were all I had ever really trusted. Wake up, make coffee, answer emails, manage projects, clean the apartment, update my spreadsheets. My hands remembered how to move even when my heart lagged behind. The smart locks became part of that routine. I liked the soft click of the deadbolt engaging when I tapped my phone. I liked the quiet little notification that said, "Door locked, all secure." It felt like a sentence I was finally allowed to say about my own life. Garrett, meanwhile, became a story I heard secondhand. Jenna would come over with takeout and updates. "He's staying on his friend's couch," she reported, once, sipping a soda. Apparently, his parents told him he could move back in if he got serious about therapy. I raised an eyebrow. "Is he going?" "He went once," she said. "Didn't like being told his actions had consequences." I huffed out a humorless laugh. Another time, she said he and Brittany tried living together. It lasted about 6 weeks. I didn't ask for details, but she gave them anyway. Turns out, she said, when the thrill of sneaking around is gone, you're just left with two people who know exactly how low the other is willing to sink. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. About 3 months after the night at the door, I ran into Garrett in the grocery store. I was in the produce section comparing prices on strawberries when I felt that prickling sensation of being watched. I glanced up, and there he was, standing at the end of the aisle holding a basket with a sad-looking frozen pizza and a six-pack. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but inwardly, shoulders curled inward, eyes dull, jaw unshaven, like someone who hadn't slept well in a long time. "Joe," he said, shifting his weight. I could have walked away, but we were already face to face, and I was done running from anything related to him. "Garrett, how are you?" He attempted a smile that never reached his eyes. "You look good." "I'm fine," I said. "Busy." He laughed, but it came out hollow. "Yeah, I'm, surviving." There was a beat of silence. "So," he said, shifting his weight, "Brittany and we're not together anymore." I stared at him. "I'm shocked." He winced. "I deserve that." I didn't disagree. He hesitated. "Do you think we could ever, talk for real this time? Maybe get coffee just to get closure?" I looked at him, this man I had once imagined building a life with, whose name I'd practiced with my own in silly signatures, whose laugh used to be the happiest sound in my day. I searched myself for the anger, the ache, the longing. All I found was distance. "No," I said softly, "we can't." His face crumpled for a second before he caught it. "Right. Yeah, I figured. I just had to ask." "Take care of yourself, Garrett," I said. Then I turned my cart around and walked away without looking back. For the first time, leaving him behind didn't feel like losing something. It felt like stepping out of a burning building and realizing you were the one who'd opened the door to fresh air. 4 months after everything detonated, I realized I'd gone an entire week without thinking about him. When I did think of him, it wasn't with rage. It was with a kind of detached clarity. He had texted twice more after the grocery store run-in. I didn't respond. Eventually, the messages stopped. Silence replaced the constant buzz. It was peaceful. Tori and I met for coffee once at her suggestion. She arrived in a simple dress, her hair pulled back, a small tiredness in her eyes that hadn't quite left. But there was something else there now, too. A lightness as steadiness. "We're not friends," she said with a small smile as we sat down, "but we're members of a very specific club." "The I didn't deserve this club?" I asked. "That one," she said. "I just wanted to tell you the divorce is final. The kids are adjusting. I started seeing someone new. Slowly, carefully. I feel like myself again." "I'm happy for you," I said, and I meant it. "Are you seeing anyone?" she asked. "Not seriously," I admitted. "I am open to it, but I'm more focused on not ignoring red flags just because I'm tired of being alone." She nodded. "That sounds like progress." It was. Therapy helped a lot. My therapist looked me straight in the eyes one session and said, "You understand that his cheating says nothing about your worth, right? It only says something about his character." I wanted to believe that. Eventually, I did. She also laughed gently when I told her about the smart locks. "Effective," she said, "maybe a bit symbolic." "Of what?" I asked. "Of how you don't trust your own gut until you have physical proof," she said. "You knew something was wrong months ago. You heard the name in his sleep, you saw him checking his phone, you felt the distance, but you needed cameras and notifications to validate what your intuition already knew." It stung, mostly because it was true. I started listening to myself more after that. I threw out the last of Garrett's things. I repainted the bedroom, changed the bed frame, bought new sheets in a color he had always said was too much.
I rearranged the furniture so thoroughly that sometimes I'd walk in and feel like I was visiting someone else's apartment, but it was mine. Work got better too. I stopped pouring energy into keeping a shaky relationship afloat and started pouring it into my career. I took on a big project, nailed it, and got promoted in July with a raise that made my budgeting spreadsheets practically sing. I began saving for a down payment, not because I needed to prove anything to anyone, but because the idea of owning a place that was truly, entirely mine made my chest feel warm instead of tight.
Sometimes late at night, I'd catch myself wondering, what if I hadn't come home early that day? How much longer would he have lied? Would we have gotten engaged, planned a wedding, stood in front of our families and promised forever while he was still texting her under the table? Would we have had kids before I learned the truth? The thought made me nauseous. But then I'd look around at my quiet, safe, locked, secured apartment. I'd see the evidence of my own life. Books stacked on the coffee table, fresh flowers in a vase I bought for myself, shoes kicked off by the door no one else had a key to. And I'd feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. Gratitude. Not for what he did, never that, but for the fact that I found out in time to choose myself. People sometimes ask if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd given him another chance, if maybe with counseling and patience we could have rebuilt. The answer is simple. No, not even a little bit. Garrett didn't trip and fall into betrayal. He walked into it step by deliberate step for 7 months. He lied every day. He watched me make dinner, fold his laundry, ask about his day, and chose silence over honesty. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. I did what I needed to do to protect my peace. If that makes me cold or petty or unforgiving in some people's eyes, I can live with that. Because at the end of the day, I lock my door with a tap of my finger, hear the soft click slide into place, and feel the quiet, grounded certainty that everything on the other side of that door is mine. My space, my standards, my life. And I sleep better than I ever did when I was sharing it with someone who treated my trust like it was disposable. If you're where I was, staring at red flags and trying to paint them white, hear me clearly. Trust your gut, protect your peace, and never let anyone convince you that having standards makes you the villain in your own story. You deserve better than someone who treats your heart like a spare key they can use whenever they feel lonely.